Hello again, everybody, and welcome again to Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host, Master Ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. Kat, unfortunately, cannot be here this week, as she is still fighting. She's still fighting off her infection with Nurgle's rot, which really sucks because today's her birthday, and we had a really special thing planned. Oh well, I guess more cake for the rest of us. Can't let it go to waste.
Nom nom nom.
And not wasting a second to begin gorging herself on said cake is our other co-host, Skyblaze. How are you doing this week?
It's good cake.
I know, a cake of many flavors, because I don't know what her favorite flavor is. So I just got a 6-layer cake. Each layer is a different flavor. So
I recommend the carrot cake for that layer.
Yeah. You're gonna want to be a little bit careful, because if you dig any deeper, you're gonna start striking chocolate.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like some sort of cake-based Minecraft.
Yeah. All right. For those who don't know, Skyblaze is allergic to chocolate. That's the joke.
I am, it's true.
All right. And Bryan, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right this week. Other than the fact that I've run out of printer ink, which is a weird thing to say, but yeah, I'm doing all right.
You know,
and printer ink rip-off, if I might add. I am not paying $100 or like even $50.
Oh, $100. Oh, you're one of the lucky ones. I had to look up how much ink replacements cost for my mother's printer last week. Not only does her printer require 4 separate cartridges, but each of them costs $400.
How much?
How big is this printer? Is it the basement?
It's one.
Are you printing people?
It's one of those all-in-one office quality ones that my now ex-stepfather bought for her years ago. I'm honestly surprised that they're still in production, because this thing's like almost a decade old. That actually might be why they're so expensive. The cartridges might be out of production and thus hard to find. But yeah, no, my mother's reaction was the same as my own, which was, fuck that noise. We're just going to go buy a new printer. Which I think is the scam.
Ooh,
no, actually, they make a lot more money off the printer ink than they do off the printers.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, and I remember you were telling me what you were using your printer for, and yeah, it always seems to run out right when you're doing something important. Isn't it? You could print like just reams and reams of fan fiction off, but when you've got to print off paperwork for a passport renewal, that's when it decides to crap out.
Basically, and since it is a government process, I can't send half of it there and go, all right, just imagine the rest is there too.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, we got a really good show for you guys tonight. Spider-Man: Homecoming, which all of us have been waiting with bated breath for. I say that only slightly hyperbolically. Some of us have actually been holding our breath for this. Skyblaze especially, she's just now starting to turn back to pink from blue that she's been for the last several weeks. So, yeah, but first, of course, there's procedure to follow. So we're going to begin, as always, with the random topic of the week. And this week's random topic came up in a interaction I had with my sister a few weeks ago when she came by to visit. And she was flipping through the channels, and she came across an episode of The X-Files. Now, bear in mind, she's already got the whole series on DVD. She's seen every single episode multiple times. But she she comes across this episode of The X-Files, and she just drops everything she's doing and just glues herself to the television to watch this. And I was like, it's kind of a rare thing to have a show that even though you've seen every episode, you might have the whole thing on DVD and you can watch it whenever you want, but you'll still stop what you're doing and watch it if you're just channel surfing. So the question that I want to put to you guys is, what is a show or a movie that you may have seen 100 times? You could recite the script by heart, but if you're channel surfing and you come across it on the TV, that's it. You've got the rest of your day planned because you're sitting there and you're watching this. So, Bryan, why don't we start with you? What's a piece of television media that you'll always stop to watch if you stumble across it while channel surfing?
Ironically enough, it actually happened to me not too long ago. It wasn't necessarily channel surfing. I was actually just Netflix surfing, if you want to call it a thing, just to have some background noise on. And I saw that Hot Fuzz was there. I was like, shit, I'll watch that a 30th time. Click. I don't care. So Hot Fuzz is actually a really good one for. I've also sometimes get into a thing where I'll turn on a documentary, or I'll put on like a documentary channel and just walk away. And if I hear something kind of interesting, I kind of come back and start watching it.
Okay. For me, it's MASH. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show. I'm a huge MASH fan, and I've got the whole series on DVD, plus the special final episode, the theatrical cut, special edition, whatever you want to call it. I could recite to you the script of many episodes by memory. And yet, anytime I flip it through and I hear "Suicide is Painless" playing on the television, that's it. I'm not moving for the next 30 minutes. So it's actually kind of funny. I went to the gym with my dad this morning, and you know how they have TVs, showing different stuff. I was flipping through one, and I came across an episode of MASH, and I was like, oh, this is a good one. This is the episode where, and I proceeded to outline the entire episode. And my dad's like, well, okay, now that you've spoiled the whole thing for me, can we switch to something else?
You're like, no.
All right, Skyblaze, what about you? What's something that you'll always stop to watch if you come across a channel surfing?
Quite often Star Trek the original series, or Star Trek Next Gen. Less so Voyager and DS9, but definitely Next Gen and TOS. This one doesn't so much happen when I'm at home, but because I don't have, I guess you guys would call it cable. It's Sky TV over here. I don't have it. My parents do. So if I'm at their house, and I come across, I can't remember what you guys got, Air Crash Investigation, the documentary series, or Seconds from Disaster, I always put those on. I've seen nearly all of them at one point or another, but I always put them on because I just find them really fascinating. And I don't really know why. I once watched one like a week before I was supposed to go on holiday, and my dad was like, hey, you're watching, aren't you going to be on a plane in a couple of weeks? Yeah. Doesn't this bother you? Not especially. If it was commonplace, they wouldn't be making a goddamn documentary out of it, would they?
It's more along the line. It's not like you watch it before you go on the plane. It's the people who watch it on the plane. I go, why are you doing this to yourself?
I'll tell you another one for me. Futurama. If I come across Futurama on TV and you try and change the channel on me, you're pulling back a bloody stump. You're losing a hand. That and the original Star Wars. A New Hope. I can literally recite the entire script to you from memory. But if I come across that on television, I'm not moving. I'm taking root for the next 2 hours.
Oh, another one, Transformers the movie.
The Michael Bay one or the original animated film?
Really? That's a question you're going to ask her?
Fucking seriously. Actually.
I have to
the
ask.
Actual movie. What the fuck is wrong with you?
You don't have to ask. You can look at the person going, I know what you're talking about.
I can't look at her. She's across the ocean.
You can feel her. I can feel her death stare right now.
Yeah, you can.
What? I actually liked the first Michael Bay movie.
I'm very sorry, but that is your personal issue and nothing that I can help you with.
What? 1 and 3, I will always raise my sword in defense of. The rest, yeah, no, they can all burn. But I actually enjoyed
they
the
can
first and
all
third
burn,
ones.
as far as I'm concerned.
Here's a funny story. No, Skyblaze, I'm derailing this whole situation. I was watching Glow on Netflix, which is a drama about the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. It's actually kind of a cool little series they put out. In one of the episodes, when the women were training, they used Dare from the Transformers movie. I remember I was like watching it and I heard like the chorus hit. I was like, no. And I was like, there it is. Like, all right, this is probably one of the best shows I've seen ever.
I don't care where I am, if I'm on the road or if I'm at the gym or if I'm just in the middle of a public place. But if I'm listening to my music and the touch starts playing, that's it. I'm doing an air guitar solo right there. I don't care where I am or how many people are staring at me. That just demands an air guitar solo.
Many years ago, me and the sci-fi club I was part of used to go. Do you guys have Laser Quest?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
We used to go to the local Laser Quest. And the guys who ran the place knew us quite well. So they would let us put our own music on when we were having a match. and we always put the Transformers the movie soundtrack on. There is nothing more satisfying than finding a comfortable place to snipe from while Instruments of Destruction is thundering through the speakers.
Really? I'd have thought The Touch would have been more appropriate sniping song. You got the touch, bam! You got the power,
I quite often did this while wearing a Decepticon t-shirt. I don't know what to tell you.
All right, so so sound off in the comments. What is a show or a movie that you may have seen a million times, but if it comes on, that's it. That's appointment TiVo viewing right there. So sound off in the comments. Let's hear from our listeners. What's a show that you'll always stop and watch? And so with that, our next portion of the show is my favorite segment, your favorite segment, the Ask a Geek, and we got some questions here. First one here, we have two from Ryan. Who he asked the bronies in the crowd, which is pretty much me and Skyblaze, now that the official trailer for the My Little Pony movie has released, how do we feel about it? He says he's not sure how he likes the new models and that he hopes that the DHX doesn't transition to the new animation in the new seasons like with the TV series. So, Skyblaze, have you seen this trailer? What did you think of it?
I have. I was saying relatively recently. I don't know. The thing about anything moving to a new animation style is that it's always going to take some getting used to. There are some points in favor of the new animation style. It's very fluid. It looks quite nice. It's just radically different from the style that's used in the main show. And some of it looks a bit too oversaturated. But that might just be, I mean, A, I'm watching it on YouTube, which is not great for quality, and B, it will probably take some getting used to. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the trailer, but I couldn't believe that they were putting the aqua ponies or whatever the hell they were called back in the day in this.
The sea ponies?
Yeah, them. I was like, what the fuck? I remember you guys from the 80s. What the fuck are you doing there?
We thought that you were kept in Hasbro's back closet with all the stuff they're really ashamed of, like Kiss players
and GoBots and Rock Lords and things like that.
I'm like I've kind of been very frightened of this movie since the first poster got released, and my fear has not really abated with the trailer. And the thing that's got me kind of antsy is there's been a whole lot of focus on advertising the celebrity cameos.
I know who precisely one of them is.
Yeah,
that's Zoe Saldana.
And I like, the thing is like, yeah, the trailer looks good. It looks like it's going to be focusing on the main characters. But as anyone who's listened to our Ratchet and Clank episode knows, I've been hurt before, and I'm not sure I'm ready to love again. So this time, I am going to heed well the words of Papa Bryan, who warned me about this with Ratchet and Clank, and I'm gonna remain skeptical so long as they're not crediting the original voice actors, because, for all I know, this could be just, hey, here's the adventure of these new celebrity ponies with special guests, the actual stars of the show. So now to clarify, because I had to explain this to somebody on Facebook, I'm not worried about them replacing the voice actors for the original cast. What I'm worried about is that they're going to focus on these new characters, and the actual main cast is going to become guest stars in their own fucking film. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
What also worries me is how much they seem to be pandering to the younger, kind of young hip crowd. I mean, who the hell is Sia? It's the special song by Sia.
She's a musical artist, right?
Who doesn't know how to cut her hair.
It's like, I don't care.
Well, I mean, at this point, granted,
it's marketed towards young girls and everything, but the fact that they seem to be kind of pandering towards that market worries me slightly. Because often when things start pandering rather than just worrying about being good first, things tend to decline quality-wise. You know what I mean?
See, for example, Ghostbusters 2016.
Well, I'm thinking it's more along the line. See, I think the unfortunate thing for the My Little Pony franchise is that a time for a movie is actually passed. Like
they missed the apex by quite a long way.
Yeah, and so this might just be. This could be I wouldn't say a death knell for it, but this could be like the final going. We have to do a movie before we can end everything and move on to the next iteration of it. So this could be what this is. That's just my feelings on it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that kind of reminds us that I'm not the target audience for this. I have to keep reminding myself, okay, no, you're about 24 years older than the crowd they're going for. But at the same time, it's like, okay, why would someone that young care who Sia is? I'm thinking that they're focusing on that to give some reason for the older siblings who are inevitably going to have to take their younger siblings to go see this film. So, but anyway, moving on to Ryan's next question, he asked what we thought of The Perfect Pair, which was the episode where we finally got to learn about Applejack's parents, with guest role by His Heaviness himself, William Shatner, who, can I say, I didn't realize it was him until right at the end of the episode. When
it took me a while.
I was like, I know that voice. Where have I heard that voice before? And then when he started hamming it up during the scene where he breaks up the wedding, I was like, that's Captain Kirk!
Yeah, he was astonishingly restrained. It's was somebody keeping him on a leash? Did someone have a cattle prod that was electrocuting him every time he overacted? That's unfair. He's actually pretty good, but what he's famous for and his performance in that, completely different things.
I will say it was I really enjoyed the episode. It was a nice, heartwarming little tale. I thought it was brilliantly written, and it was really great to see sort of some backstory of the Apple family, because we always hear about how they've we hear so much about Applejack's extended family, but we never really see much of them. So it was great to see sort of it's more of the Apple clan's direct history. And now I have a question, that being, what was Granny Smith? Was Granny Smith called Granny Smith when she was younger? Because we actually got to see a teenage Granny Smith in this episode. And I was like, so is she still Granny Smith, or are they calling her Teeny Smith right now?
Could be. There's a couple of different variants on what the fans have called her when she's younger, I think. So it could be. But yeah, William Shatner, astonishing performance from him. He was really very good. It was a very sweet story, and I liked the way it was kind of assembled from pieces. And I also liked the explanation as to why the kids didn't know. Insofar as that it was basically that they didn't want to tell the kids that their grandfather had abandoned them. I can understand that. That makes sense. And they also didn't want to dredge up this whole feud history thing, which after the fact they were probably, we went way too far with this. It's not a great look for us to kids. So it made logical sense. It followed as to why they weren't told, rather than just because shut up, that's why.
All right. So yeah, we both enjoyed it. And Bryan, he hasn't watched My Little Pony for a while, so I guess he's remaining mum on the matter.
I recommend watching the episode where Luna and Celestia get their quick cutie marks switched, because that's amazing.
Yeah, that would surprise me. That's the first good Starlight Glimmer episode that I can say that with a straight face since she's joined the main cast.
It wasn't really about her. She was kind of incidental. She was a plot device.
Yeah, although I did have one moment I shouted at the screen, and that was a moment where she swapped the cutie marks, and I was just like, "Have you learned nothing?"
But she takes that on board. She realizes, I panicked. I reverted to what I usually do. This is clearly not going to work out. Oh God, what have I done?
Yeah, it's just she should have had that realization about mind control and manipulating other ponies' destinies about 3 or 4 Starlight Glimmer episodes ago because this keeps happening.
Yeah, but she has. But there's grooves been worn in her from I automatically revert to what I have done before because I've panicked.
Well,
I can understand that.
Bad habits are hard to break.
It's true.
Well, we can debate the merits of Starlight Glimmer as a character. She's bad. Another episode. But Bryan, you've been sitting there quietly, kind of, feeling kind of left out. So I have a question here for you. And this one comes from Mark, and he has a question leaping off our random topic on Batman and Bill. And he asks, what are some other stories from the comic industry that you think would make it for interesting documentaries?
Like one kind of like Batman and Bill? Because there's actually been a couple of those. Sad face. Or just maybe figures in the industry that might be interesting to learn about, like the Jack Kirby story. I mean, there's a lot of those actually now. PBS actually put together a series of like superheroes in the comic book industry and everything like that. The only problem I have with some of the documentaries that do come out is they focus mainly on like DC and Marvel because they're the big two that are out and who are always out in the spotlight. But back in the day, when comics were, starting out, you had like a ridiculous amount of publishers all vying for some piece of that pie, whatever that pie may be. And we don't kind of hear about the stories of that time period a lot, like what Timely Comics would become Marvel, or EC doing their crime and their dramas, and like the ridiculous amounts of like patriotic superheroes that came out in the 1940s because of World War II that now just don't exist anymore. Like it's stuff like that we need. I feel like should be a bit of a spotlight and shined up a little bit more. Like there's a couple of books out now I've been wanting to pick up. One's called Weird Superheroes and one's called Weird Supervillains, just about that time period of just a bunch of weird and crazy characters that everybody was sort of introducing at that time, that you don't see anymore because they are either lost to time or lost to the public domain. Yeah, like, that to me is interesting.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask, because like I remember reading somewhere that there's like only 15 copies of Action Comics #1 with Superman that are known to exist. I was like, do you think maybe the reason why there haven't been any spotlights on these lesser known characters from the 30s and 40s is because none of their material exists anymore?
There could be some of that, because during that time rationing was happening, and one of the easiest things to throw away was comic books because they're just paper, and get recycled to whatever else it needs to be. But while their physical attributes no longer exist, the actual histories of the characters still do. You might have to research and look into it, but they're there. You can, like I said, you can look them up. It is possible. Just no one's really taken the time and effort into it. I think because it's very hard to do, and you have to do a lot of research on it, and maybe they don't think it's interesting, or there's only a few people like me, a weirdo, who would find it interesting.
Okay.
Maybe I will do it if I had the money.
I would find the story about how Image Comics came about and then rose to prominence and had a bit of a problem with the comics crash, and how it survived that to be interesting.
There has to be one about Image. I would be shocked.
I haven't seen one. If you find one, please send it my way.
Sure.
Thank you. I like documentaries.
It's just wonderfully interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the Ask the Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdofthethirdpower.com, or you can drop them in the comments below the YouTube feed. We do occasionally trawl through and pull out some questions from there. And so with that, we're going to jump into this episode, and that is Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think I can safely say we have all been really excitedly waiting for ever since Captain America Civil War, when we were introduced to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We were waiting to see what he was going to do with his own solo film, and now we have it. So I'll tell you the first thing that I thought was interesting was that we didn't get another origin story. We actually got a story where Peter's been Spider-Man for a while, and he's still kind of getting the hang of it, but it's like, we don't need to see Uncle Ben get shot again. So, but anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So, what about you guys? What are your general thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming?
I thought it was a great film. even divorced from the wider Marvel universe, which granted is hard to do with this movie because so much of it rests on stuff that has gone before. But even with that in mind, it's a great film by itself. It tells a great story. It has fairly good, well-developed characters within it who are believable and you can sympathize with. Even the villain you can sympathize with, which is a rare thing in films.
Speaking of the villain, how is it that every time Iron Man is involved in one of these movies, he creates the fuck? Think about all the movies Iron Man's been a part of, and how many times the villain is because of something he did.
You know, I'm having a hard time arguing that because the only been in the movie, and the villain wasn't a direct result of something he'd done, is the first Avengers movie. Although an argument could be made for this.
Hydra in general wasn't his fault.
Yeah, that's true. Hydra in general was not his fault.
Yeah.
Also, the Winter Soldier, if you class him as a villain.
Well, but he wasn't in that movie. Well, he was in Civil War.
He was in Civil War, but he was also in Captain America. Well, Iron Man was in Captain America too. But it just seems ridiculous to me that like everything that Iron Man does somehow creates a villain somewhere. Like, I'm pretty sure in his mind he's not creating villains on purpose.
So are we?
It was. Hey, I've created this thing called damage control. The guy's like, "You're screwing me out of my job. Screw you. I will sell weapons." Like,
so I guess
Tony, how do you keep doing this?
So I guess now we can officially say that Tony Stark is the Kevin Bacon of the Marvel universe. Everybody is just connected to him by 6 degrees.
It's just ridiculous.
6 degrees of Tony Stark.
It doesn't take away from the film. I did enjoy the film. Let me put that out there. I have some nitpicks as a comic book fan is wont to do, but that's like my only major thing for me is like Tony is like the worst supervillain right now because he just keeps creating more supervillains. Accidentally.
All right. So on that note, Bryan, why don't you give us a brief rundown about what this film is about?
Taking place after Captain America's Civil War, Spider-Man Peter Parker heads back home to New York with his brand new suit and is sort of trying to. He's continuing his job, also trying to kind of get Iron Man to sort of notice him. He's moving forward. He's very excited about this.
He wants Senpai to notice him.
He wants Senpai.
This is Notice Me Senpai, the movie.
Yeah,
it really is. It's quite sad.
And so as he's doing this, he comes across villains who have been stealing alien tech or just tech in general after big battles with the Avengers or any superheroes, led by the Vulture. And he comes across them, tries to stop them. Doesn't do very well the first time out, but he gets better at it, and he gets forced to use his own wits and heroics to save the day at the end. Along the way, we meet his best friends, a possible like interest or love interest, and he's just sort of learning to be a better superhero, if you wish, through his actions and kind of balancing his life now. Because in his mind, he's like, I'm the newest Avenger. I have to do something special. But doing something special, he had kind of learn a quick lesson that just trying to do that might without thinking will hurt people in the process. So he gets kind of taken down and then he brings himself back up. And Iron Man flies around a couple times.
All right. So what were your guys on the plot of this, the plot and scripting of this film?
I thought it was a fairly solid comic book plot. It did take kind of various set pieces is the wrong word, but kind of plot threads and ideas and scenes from various comics that I recognized. I mean, a lot of Adrian Toomes' development as the Vulture is actually more reminiscent of some of the stuff that happened to Norman Osborn in some of his very early appearances. That's not a bad thing. It's a solid story to follow, and the Vulture in the comics is a bit crap. There's very little to him of substance, so giving him more of a backstory and more of a reason to do what he does that makes sense to the audience is fine. He's trying to feed his family in a difficult situation, and he's taking a very dark route to do it. And he clearly only cares about the people close to him. Anybody else getting hurt is not really his problem. But there are kind of signs of humanity in there with how much he cares about his family, and that humanizes him a lot.
One thing that I really liked about this film's plot is that it presents Parker, it presents Peter as just a typical teenager. We've all known that kid in school who he was told either by his teachers or by his parents that he was destined for great things, and he bit into that and kind of was a little overexcited about this. Like, okay, but there's steps you got to take first to get there. And like Bryan mentioned, Peter throughout this whole film, he pretty much sees himself as like the 12th, the 13th Avenger, as part of the team, and he doesn't realize that like he's got to learn that there's stuff he's got to learn. He's got to learn the basics about what being a superhero entails before he can play in the big leagues. And it was interesting that at one point that Tony actually admits, yeah, you know what, I shouldn't have thrown you into that, but look, let's be honest, Cap was holding back. If he wanted to lay you out, he'd have laid you out. And it was just, I as much as I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and I will always hold them up as my favorites until the day I die, I will admit that we didn't really get to see anything of Peter Parker growing up in those movies, whereas we have now a very believable teenager in Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and not the emo, edgy nonsense that we got with Andrew Garfield. So I really liked that how this presented Parker as a real believable, young adult. And it's
also the world he lives in makes sense. He goes to one of the kind of like schools that's for particularly intelligent kids. I forget what they're called. It's like magnet schools or something like that. Mm-hmm. Which apparently really exist. Okay, that makes sense. He lives in an apartment somewhere instead of a really nice house, which would cost a fortune in modern day. That also makes sense. He has a bit of a hard time at school, but he's not getting the shit beaten out of him on a regular basis. Fair enough. That also makes sense. He lives in a world that makes sense rather than it being this kind of like frozen in time 1960s universe, which doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Okay, Bryan, what about you? What did you think of the plot?
I think the plot, like keeping the plot as I don't call this a simple plot because there was like some good twists and turns in it, but no, that Skyblaze brings up does make sense, and it was good for someone like sort of Spider-Man to have. Spider-Man like is not known for, even though it happens often, like the big sort of flashy fights that maybe Captain America or Iron Man have. So he is a more down-to-earth sort of street hero. So having him, like the montage early in the film where like he's helping an old lady, with directions, he's trying to stop a bike thief, just simple things like that. I was like, okay, this is the Spider-Man I kind of know and I really enjoy. True, he had a fight on the jet, but hey, superhero films, you got to have a big set piece somewhere, right? But it didn't take away from a lot of the humanity that he has. Like, he was conflicted. Like, I could be super popular as Spider-Man all the time, but that sort of doesn't feel right. The villain's about to blow up. I could just let him blow up, but that's not right. So he had a good moral ground that he struggled with, but he always kind of went to the correct direction with it.
Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the cast of this film, and we've already talked about Tom Holland's Peter Parker in our Civil War review, but do you guys have anything to add or to our thoughts on Holland with this film?
I do. Sam Raimi's films had a great Peter Parker. Was it Andrew Garfield in Amazing?
Garfield.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a good Spider-Man. He was not a good Peter Parker. they've managed to somehow find someone who can be both. Someone who's got the wit and the quips and that kind of nervous energy of Spider-Man, but is also can give off that air of I am extremely smart, but also quite nervous when it's just me, when there is no mask. He does all of that brilliantly. And it's so hard to find someone who can do both, as we've seen, because nobody before has managed to do both this well.
I think he's got definitely something going for him. There's definitely a charm both as Peter Parker and Spider-Man as he's doing. I do like the fact that when he was like, he kind of like had to build up to quip at first. He's like, oh, there's an ATM. How am I going to approach this? And then it just sort of became natural at that point. So like, it was kind of fun to kind of see that, because you always see like, because Peter Parker, the idea with Spider-Man is he can be a little bit more outgoing. But I do like the idea. I was like, well, how if I start out like this? Or what if I do it like this? And just kind of have a nice little moment, a moment of humanity, if you will. Like he's going in for a job interview. It's like, how do I say this?
Okay. Well, I don't really have anything to really add to what you guys said about Tom Holland. You guys pretty much cover it. I do want to talk about Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, or the Vulture. And I have to make the joke one more time. Yeah, it's like it said, man. You either die a hero or live long to see yourself become the villain. It's actually there's actually a picture I shared on Facebook that it's a montage of Michael Keaton's superhero roles: Batman, Birdman, and the Vulture. And it one of the comments underneath was like, he's become the villain, but he's never put away his wings. He's been some kind of winged creature. Does he have a thing for birds? So, which someone had to point out, bats aren't really birds, but that's kind of sidestepping it. But I feel like that the Vulture is kind of continuing a trend that we saw with Helmut Zemo in Civil War. We're starting to see some more human villains who are motivated not by world power or some alien artifact, but who have very human wants and desires. Like with Helmut Zemo, he just wanted to get revenge for his family, and with Toomes, this is a guy who just wants to put food on the table. He doesn't want to rule the world or conquer the universe or destroy all of reality. He just wants to feed his wife and kids. And it was interesting that you saw that he had sort of there were sort of lines he wasn't really going to cross. Like one of the brilliant scenes to me was the scene in the car in front of the prom where he's given quote unquote the dad talk to Peter, and is like, look, I could kill you right here and you'd be out of my hair, but you did me a service by saving my daughter. So for that, you know what? I'm grateful. Thanks. Go have fun. Don't get in my way again. There's
and at the very end where he refused to reveal Spider-Man's identity, there is a sense of slightly twisted honor there. It's the honor among thieves thing, where he's like, yeah, you saved my life, and for that I am gonna keep this one secret, but that is the only thing I'm gonna do for you.
Yeah, I feel like he's read the evil overlord list. Someone saves my life, then they will be spared, but only once. If they want me to spare them again, they need to save my life again.
And it's also interesting. I think Michael Keaton is just getting like more intimidating as the older he gets, because they used to this is Mr. Mom, like that's the film I was first introduced to him in. So to see this, I'm like, that guy's gonna kill somebody. And he does, thinking it was an anti-grav gun. But he does.
That was another thing. He was like really shocked and alarmed. He's like, I was just going to frighten the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then, but he's so pragmatic. It's like, oh, well, fuck.
You're the Shocker now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're now the new Shocker.
That was a surprise to me. I didn't expect to see them use the Shocker in an MCU film, because he's kind of like there's A-list villains, there's B-list villains. Shocker is like T-list.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, and a lot of like early criticisms of some of the Marvel films was that their villains were just very bland and forgettable. But in the last couple of movies, I think they're starting to learn that you have to have a good, remarkable villain in here to help really bring the story up and bring it along. I also like the fact that they didn't kill off the villain. That's always been a trend in superhero films. So they're starting to buck that trend a little bit, going, no, we keep him alive. We can use him again. Oh, that makes more sense.
Also, I assume you picked up on this, Bryan, but I don't know if anybody else did. Yeah, the guy who was demanding to know who Spider-Man was in the scene at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Gargan.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Scorpion. We'll be seeing you again, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like, who is he? Well, he has a scorpion tattoo on his neck. I think he's the Scorpion.
Well, at the moment that his name appeared up on the heads-up display, Tony,
that too.
Tony, my husband, was like, "Oh, it's him," and I went, "What?" Oh, right, okay.
There's that point. It's the unfortunate part of sometimes I feel like being a big comic book fan is that I don't get as shocked, or I don't get the ooh moments with that. I'm like, oh, hi, you're here too.
I did. I didn't expect to see you for another movie and a half. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like, I can't wait to see what your costume look like.
Now, of course, we can't let this discussion pass without discussing the elephant in the room, and that's Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, who really surprised me because I was like Bryan was expecting. I was expecting him to just hijack the whole film, but no, he was actually used really sparingly in this movie.
I blame Mark.
He was used like a good spice should be used in food. You don't completely saturate the food with it. You just use it a little bit to enhance the flavor. That was Robert Downey Jr. in this film.
Yeah, but
going back real quick, is I blame marketing in that sort of situation. I think marketing overdid it a little bit, mainly because they're like, "Hey, this is not Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's Marvel Studios because Iron Man's here, and Iron Man's here, and Iron Man's here, and Iron Man's here." And I was like, "God damn it, Iron Man's going to be everywhere." And then the film happens, like, "Oh no, he was actually used pretty well."
Yeah, and you know what the irony is? Now that I've seen the movie, I want to have seen more Iron Man because I got hints that there was some kind of method to his madness in his treatment of Parker, particularly in the line where he said where Peter says, "I want to be like you," and Tony's like, "No, I want you to be better." I feel like that there was more behind that. I was like, "No, I want to. Why would he say that? What's going on? I want to know more."
Well, you think, remember, this is happening after Civil War. So, and the Avengers are depleted. He was probably looking to bring other people in. He knew he had an in with Spider-Man, but he wanted to make sure, I guess, he understood, because the failings of I'm not sure if failings is the correct word, but just the mishaps that the first team had. So he wanted to make sure he wouldn't make the same mistakes. He did, and I think he overly punished him a bit with it. But at the same time, that punishment helped along the Peter's development. And then I'm very glad that Peter actually sort of turned down the offer, because even though I think Peter as an Avenger is great, or Spider-Man as an Avenger is great, I like that he wanted to try to stand on his own as well and work. Like, he realized, hey, I am really new at this. I've been doing this on my own. Let's kind of move forward. Let's get my legs underneath me, and then I'll step in and hopefully not get an ugly costume like he was trying to give him. I am sorry. This is also a hate for the Iron Spidey suit from the first Civil War comic series. I thought that was ugly, and I saw that open up. I was like, oh, please no flashbacks. Stop it.
I actually quite liked it, but that's just me.
Okay.
Couple of things I want to cover.
Bryan, down. Bryan, no. She's entitled to her opinion.
I'm sitting.
I have swords. Sit.
Hold on. I know. I respect other people's opinions. I'm not a douche.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Skyblaze.
Yeah, I just saw you trying to put that tranquilizer in my tea. Stop it.
Wow, she's really good.
Well, first of all, I think Tony saw a lot of himself in Peter, and there's the line from the first Iron Man movie where he goes on about, like, you're gonna have to run before you can walk. And then later on, that kind of attitude kind of led him straight into a fucking brick wall.
Literally.
In a literal and metaphorical sense. So he was trying to stop Peter from copying his mistakes, which is why you get all the whole like training wheels protocol business. He was trying to train him in order to let him ease into it gently. But Peter got impatient and was like, "Yeah, fuck this. I'm ready for this now," and he wasn't.
Like a typical teenager.
And Karen, the AI, is amazing, by the way. Also of note, as Gonzo was saying, there was an awful lot of stuff going on in the background there. Because we know from Civil War that Tony and Pepper had been on the out. And yet at the end of this film, they're clearly back together, and Pepper doesn't seem to have an issue with them getting engaged.
Yeah, that was a surprise moment for me. I was surprised to see Jon Favreau come back as Happy Hogan, because I seem to remember reading somewhere that he'd been none too pleased with Marvel lately. But to see Gwyneth Paltrow come back just out of nowhere, I was like, "Hey, you're still around! Great, cool."
How many do you guys get the joke about that? Where he says, "I've been holding on to this ring since like 2008.
Since 2008, yeah, I know, right?
I'm like, Jesus Christ, has it been that long?
It has. It's been a really fucking long time. But and there was like the Avengers. There is clearly some manner of Avengers team in place, and Tony is clearly still involved with it in some capacity. That wasn't the case as of the end of Civil War, so what the hell was going on there?
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So, what about other standouts? What are some other standout members of the cast for you guys?
Well, we have Ned. Wonderful Ned.
I didn't expect to like him, and I really did.
It was one of those weird things, because, like, Peter doesn't really have a sidekick, if you think about it, or like, I mean, he's had friends before. He's had friends and stuff like that.
Miles Morales did.
See, that's where everyone kind of got. Miles did, yes. Miles had a Ned. Let's put it that way. I think has a different name.
What the hell was his name?
Yeah, I just completely forgot too. But so they sort of like incorporated that. And if you guys want to know about a Miles Morales teaser, the character name of Donald Glover.
Go on.
It's Aaron Davis, who existed, I believe, in the Ultimate Universe, and I might have been like Miles's uncle.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, Davis is the uncle of Miles Morales, a version of Spider-Man in the comics. Now, what I'm wondering is we've got Ned, and this is supposed to be Ned Leeds, who in the original comics eventually becomes the Hobgoblin.
Yep.
I hope not. He's too much of a nice guy, and he has wonderful hats.
Well, also in the original one, I think didn't he work for the Bugle as another reporter or something?
I think he did work for the Bugle for a while. Here's another thing that this Spider-Man
it's been a long time since I've read those early comics.
Yeah, according to Professor Wikipedia, he says he was a reporter for the Daily Bugle and future husband of Betty Brant.
Holy shit, I didn't remember that bit.
Well, no, think about this for a second, because this is something that's been brought up. I think it has been brought up, is that this film is going into a much different direction. And in both, even say the Amazing Spider-Man movies, they've started moving away from the idea of Peter being like Daily Bugle and J. Jonah Jameson and stuff like that. Like, these characters are sort of like being phased out for a new, younger crowd.
Well, the problem with going to the Daily Bugle is you can't have the Daily Bugle without J. And you can't do J. Jonah Jameson without what's his name?
J.K. Simmons.
Without J.K. Simmons, and he's busy being Commissioner Gordon right now. So
apparently,
J.K. Simmons would jump back in a chance to be J.
Apparently, he did offer to come back if they needed him, provided they could work it out schedule wise.
He's like, here's my card. Like, thank you. It says J. Jonah Jameson on it.
They might as well have just reached into the comic aha take on me style and dragged him out. He was like, that's how good he was.
So yeah. What were some other standouts that you guys noticed in the cast?
Hi there, Michelle, aka MJ.
Right. Well, someone's having a tummy issue.
I'll let you go first, Skyblaze, before I air my grievances.
I thought she was a great character. I thought she had some interesting depth and so they were taking that character in an interesting direction.
I liked her because we didn't know anything until maybe close to the end of the film. I think she sort of just hung around. Like, she tried to be like antisocial, but in like a moment's panic, she was actually enjoying being around these people. like during the Washington D.C. Trip when she was outside and like my friends are up there, and like the whole time at that point was like, you're not my friends. I'm being cynical and I'm making fun of stuff. But and like that one brief moment where they're in trouble, it's like you have to help my friends. I was like, ooh, okay, I like where this is going. Like you are you're building this, like you're holding back, but you actually do enjoy hanging around with these people. And she's probably very, like she says, she doesn't care about Peter running off. I think she cares a little bit about Peter running off. Like she's curious. She's like, where is he going? Now, Gonzo, you want to rain on the parade? Let's go.
I found her almost completely unlikable.
Really? How?
She reminded me of basically every single angsty, cynical teenager that I have ever met and ever been, because full disclosure.
How many cynical teenagers have you been?
I was a shape changer in high school, so many. But no, like I was there. Like I was the teenager who was, you know, always bitter, always cynical, always kind of raining down on the parade, you know. And you know, I because, you know, now I've gotten older and look back on that, I absolutely have grown to hate that character type. Because there was like yeah, you mentioned the moment where it's like, oh, save my friends. That's like the one moment, that and the end, where I saw, I should say, because I'm just speaking for myself, where I saw anything that wasn't just overly cynical bitch.
I didn't see that at all.
Yeah.
You know, just
because she when did she ever say anything that was that bitter and cynical? She was like, I'm just drawing some people here who are having who are in pain,
who are in crisis.
Yeah,
I like drawing people in crisis. And well, I mean, there you go.
She wasn't saying it terribly seriously. It was tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then there was the scene at the dance where she just flips Peter off for no fucking reason.
Because friends do that to each other. My friends do that to me all the time.
I just maybe you and I ran in different crowds in high school, but I saw just a lot. I found very little to like in her character.
Yeah, I think the high school cultures of the UK and the US are pretty different anyway.
Yeah,
I didn't really have any friends when I was in high school, and I had the shit beaten out of me on a regular basis. So, I don't know.
Well, speaking of that, and I don't mean to bring up that, but like Flash, let's go to Flash Thompson. Because Flash Thompson used to do that to Peter all the time.
And this,
but
he was
Flash Thompson in this one is just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that he goes to this school for clever kids kind of indicates that he has a certain amount of intelligence, even if some of it is clearly just because his daddy pays for it.
Yeah, and let me tell you, having known people like that past as well. Yeah, let me tell you, just because someone's a genius doesn't mean they don't have the capacity to be a dick. And like my one gripe with Flash was like, really, Penis Parker? That's where you're gonna go? You're like one step down from Mensa material, kid. Get creative with it.
What I want to see from Flash, anyway, is that something we didn't get to see in Sam Raimi films. We kind of got it in Amazing Spider-Man, but it was never expanded upon. Is that Flash becomes like the #1 Spider-Man fan, you know, and becomes like the #1 like Spider-Man defender.
And there's also what happens to him much later on.
You have to expand on that. A lot of things happen to Flash, the poor guy.
Certain symbiote gets involved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's actually going to happen in this series, but we'll have to wait and see.
It would be amusing.
It would be. Now I'm Spider-Man. Oh, this is really, like, I would see him going like, this is great. And then the teeth, this is not so great anymore.
I'm not sure the girls would like this. The tongue thing is cool, though.
Well, maybe that's what they would like.
I am a terrible person.
The only one of the group of friends I don't think I kind of understood was Liz, which was like I guess you call it love interest if you want, of Peter. Like she was.
They use such a light touch with that, and I kind of like that they didn't lay it on thick like they had in previous Spider-Man films.
Yeah, and it was the only. And I did not see the twist coming with her being Vulture's daughter.
No.
Oh God, no! You want to talk about a record scratch moment? That was it. I was like, oh, this is cool, but I know that there's going to be a twist. It's going to ruin the whole prom thing. But for now, this is cool. He's going to pick up the girl of his dreams, take her to prom, and he's going to meet her parents. Oh shit!
And how is it this school of geniuses cannot figure out Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but the Vulture figures it out in like 30 seconds? Like, come on, guys. Where is the class of trying to figure out superhero identity?
Because it's nerdy Peter Parker, and they're like, it's like trying to imagine that the guy who works in IT down the corridor from you is Superman.
Well,
that's a good point. I like that.
If you remember, here's the thing: nobody hears Peter's voice coming out of Spider-Man that we see except for the Vulture, and we actually see it in the film. He's like, I swear we've met before. Your voice just sounds really familiar. And then at that point, Liz kind of spills the beans on the whole Stark internship, and Vulture puts 2 and 2 together. So he was cottoning on to who Peter really was, even if he wasn't really aware of it.
So, but no, because he was at Peter's party, and they mentioned that before, but he disappeared. And then he was in Washington, D.C., and he disappeared, and then, Spider-Man shows up. That's where I think he was putting more 2 and 2 together. He's like, wow, you seem to be in the same area as Spider-Man always is, and you disappear, and he shows up. This is why Bruce Wayne doesn't go out to parties.
Only he does.
That's true. All right, that was a lie.
So, but yeah, Vulture was able to puzzle it out because he had more pieces to work with.
Mm.
So
I guess there's a case for that. And Ned hadn't spilled the beans. Oh, Ned.
Okay. All right. So let's see. All right. We're kind of running a little long here. So let's kind of start moving along here. All right. So let's talk about the presentation of this film. What did you guys think of the visuals and sound of this film?
I would say it looked like a lot of good practical effects came into play, and a lot of good stunt work came into play. And I could see the stunt work. Even if some of it was CGI a bit, they pulled for a Spider-Man, they pulled that camera back, so you see him twisting in air and everything like that, except when we went to the golf course, which by far I think is the best Spider-Man joke I've seen in a long time. Where he just runs out, hits his web, and there's nothing. Oh man, and just start running, and then it's the best Spider-Man joke.
And then they do the Ferris Bueller sequence.
Right. Now, the interesting about the Ferris Bueller sequence is I didn't expect Spider-Man to cause so much minor collateral damage in the suburbs. I felt like and this is funny to say, he was kind of a menace. Maybe J. Jonah Jameson has a point.
I'll tell you what, I definitely thought that the fight choreography in this film was much better than it was in the Amazing Spider-Man films, because we could actually see what the hell was going on.
Yes.
I remember the fights in the Amazing Spider-Man films being very jerky and quick and very hard to follow. Less so with the Sam Raimi films. Those are, again, I had a really easy time following those, but just, I don't know, the Amazing Spider-Man films just had some of the most awful choreography I've ever seen in a superhero film. But the fight scenes in this film I felt were really easy to follow, and I really enjoyed that. I liked the effect that they had for the Vulture suit. It really, I've kind of talked about how I like practical effects over CGI, and I noticed that you could tell that there were times where the suit was an actual physical object that they were shooting with, and wasn't just a CGI thing that they stuck in post-production. And I like that they mixed those practical effects into the CGI, because it gave the suit a real sense of weight and presence.
Mm.
So
I'm not the biggest fan of turning Spider-Man into Iron Man Jr. with Tony giving him all these new gadgets and toys. I wasn't the biggest fan when he gave him the suit in Civil War. I've cooled off on it a bit. I just sort of wish that Peter was the one that would come up with a lot of the webbing stuff, and not just Tony giving it to him. Because some of the things that they came up in the film looked really cool when it was seen in action. I just kind of wish it was Peter the one bringing it up. But it was all, what was weird though? It was while you had a great costume, I think, for Spider-Man, there was a lack of costumes for almost everyone else except for Spider-Man and the Vulture. Like Shocker got yellow painted arms, it was weird. Like they wanted to be, they had an idea. It's like, we want to make it kind of colorful and neat and unique, and then they didn't. Like, they couldn't quite make up their minds. Well, maybe just as I'm almost expecting superhero costumes now, like on everything.
I quite like that they made nods in the direction of the costumes without making it gaudy and ridiculous.
And that's in the case of the Shocker, he would have been gaudy and ridiculous.
Yep. But they still managed to make a nod in that direction. And with the Vulture's costume, they had the flying jacket with the kind of sheepskin effect around the neck, which was like the fur ruff from the comics costume.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And also like the fighter helmet kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
I like that. That was great.
Because it looks good and it's also practical.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the problems I have with a lot of superhero costumes. You kind of go, really? You wouldn't wear that, would you? Marvel seemed to do but you really would wear that because it makes perfect sense quite well, while still nodding in the direction of these very bright and colorful costumes.
Very much so.
Mm.
Okay.
Also, for the fight choreography, I have a bee in my bonnet about doing fight choreography properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they did leave it to actual professionals where they could and where they could get away with it, I like that. Do more of that, please. Where you can't train your actors to do this shit, leave it to professionals. That is literally what they are there for. And there was no point where the effects of the CGI took me out of the film, which is also good.
All right.
Very, very contained.
Mm.
And I will give credit where credit due. Yes, Karen was adorable.
All right. So we're kind of running up to the end of the show here. So let's start wrapping things up. So what were our final thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming? Brian, we'll start with you.
We've had, 6 Spider-Man films so far, right? Correct?
Yeah, 6.
Yes.
It's taken us 6 to get the Ramones, one of my favorite bands, into a Spider-Man film.
Here it comes.
Still not the cover of the theme song. We are. How did you do that?
Skyblaze, you owe me $20.
I was so happy and disappointed at the same time. I was like, yes, the Ramones. It's not the right song.
But they did that really nice orchestral cover at the very start.
The orchestral cover did take me by surprise. So I was like, holy shit, I see where the money went. Like, we can afford only one Ramones song because we made this. All right, Blitzkrieg Bop it is.
All righty, Skyblaze, what about you? Final thoughts on the film?
The second post-credit sequence.
Oh my
Marvel, trolling level is expert. You are adepts. I take my hat off to you, sirs and madams. I wasn't even mad. I was impressed.
Chris Evans is like, this is going to be great.
You can just see him, you can just imagine him going to the premiere, rubbing his hands together, being like, I cannot fucking wait for people to see this.
You're a mean one, Mr. Evans. All right. My final thoughts. Like I said, I'll always hold the first 2 Sam Raimi films up as my favorite Spider-Man movies ever. And while Spider-Man: Homecoming has not unseated them, it's definitely taking a seat at its right hand. Because this really was a great film. It was a great MCU film. It was also a great standalone film on its own, and it was great to see a more believable teenage Peter Parker. And like I said, I'm really interested to see what else they do with the character in the future, because that this is going to be a franchise. So yeah, and so with that, this comes the part of the show where we give our final ratings on the film. As always, our rating scale from best to worst is see it now, wait for matinee, wait for DVD, wait for cable, don't even bother. And Brian's rating, fuck this movie. So Skyblaze, will start with you. What's your final rating for this film?
Oh, see it now. Absolutely see it now. And definitely stay till the second post-credit sequence.
All right, Brian, what about you? What's your final rating on the film?
This is a good see it now film. Absolutely. It's brought Spider-Man back to Marvel. It was, the title is a very big wink and nod of his homecoming. So yeah, it's nice to see Spider-Man kind of coming back again. I want to see kind of where he goes from now. I know the next film is going to be a little bit down the line, and we got films in between that's probably going to affect it. So let's see where it goes.
All righty. And me, I'm going to make it unanimous. I'm going to say see it now. This and Wonder Woman right now are neck and neck for my favorite films of 2017. So yeah, definitely go see this. Go see Spider-Man now. It's definitely worth seeing.
With a summer of a lot of disappointment, it's nice to have a couple, nice diamonds there. And this is definitely one of them.
All righty. And so with that, that's all the time that we have for Nerd of the Third Power this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will see you next week. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm Skyblaze.
And I'm Bryan.
All right. We will see you next week. Thank you as always for tuning in. Taka, play us out.